So again, we just purchased our furniture and then we just sold it, right? And we were able to journalize it as well as successfully put it in our ledger. So let's see what happened next. So now we are finally on a new day. It is now Wednesday, June 5th. So what happened here?
We ran to the lender the properties.
Yes.
4 month rent.
Yes. So in this case, right, we decided to get, pay for rent. Now, again, let's take a look at this. So in this case, this landlord, right, landlord properties, we paid a total of 4 months in advance for rent. Okay. And here they, of course, as most places do, they require a rent deposit. Okay.
Yeah.
So in this case, now our grand total of the rent itself is going to be a total of $7,500. All right. However, in this case, right, we have prepaid rent, right? Because in this case, when we look at rent, right, and we try to figure out how much it's going to cost me per month, right, we kind of determine how much we must basically pay for rent for the current month, and then we have to save the rest for the for the month of July, July, August, and September, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this case, right, since we're paying for 4 months, including the month of June, right, we need to also understand that we must split it up so we have enough money for the current month, and then we have enough money for the next few months, okay? And of course, most cases, rent deposits, usually they always ask for a month in advance for the deposit. So in this case, right, we're looking at rent expense for the current month, and we're also looking at prepaid rent, and then we are also looking at the rent deposit for a grand total of $7,500. In this case, we even wrote a check, okay, to landlord properties. So we're going to be using our check for the very first time. Now, in this case, let's take a look at this, okay? So we have grand total of $7,500. We already know that the rent deposit that they requested from us was $1,500. However, for a total of 4 months was a total of $6,000. So how much is it for 1 month worth of rent?
1,500.
1,500, right? We needed to say that, well, for the month of June, that's going to be considered rent expense because we bought rent for the business, right? For the current month, which is for 1,500. However, for the month of July, for the month of August, and the month of September, we were not on that month, but we did make an advance payment because usually when you do go for a rent place, usually you sign a contract and you pay on a month-to-month basis. But in this case, you signed a contract saying, well, I'm going to pay X amount of months for rent. Okay, so in this case, we have $4,500 because if it's $1,500 per month, we have 3 months left. So 3 times 1,500 gives you 4,500. Okay.
Yep.
So in this case, let's go ahead and properly journalize this and make sure that we have our proper accounts. So let's take out our chart of accounts, right? First thing that we did was we had a rent expense, okay?
Expense.
So let's go ahead and take a look at our expenses. Do we have rent expense?
I'm supposed to. Let's see. Yes, 62,000.
62,000. Next one is going to be a prepaid rent.
A prepaid rent.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what is a prepaid? Cannot see. Payroll, payroll. I cannot see. So.
Okay, so in this case, right?
Prepaid.
If I bought rent, if I paid for rent, can I touch rent?
No.
No.
Oh, so is it not? intangible.
Correct, because in this case, right, because I made an advance payment, I own the rent place for July, August, and
Prepaid
September, right?
account.
Prepaid
Uh-huh.
accounts, good,
Prepaid
correct.
account.
Prepaid accounts for which is 18,600. Now, what about my deposit?
The deposit is too. Is a prepaid is here. Is an asset too.
Correct, because
Intangible.
that is money I own, right? Because I own that deposit. I'm supposed to be promised to get that money back, right?
So rent expense is an expense. So it is no. It is an it is not an asset. You don't consider that as an asset. It's an expense. Economic.
Okay, so in this case, right, this is how we have to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
We're paying for the current month. The current month meaning I am spending money for this month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's considered a rent expense. But in this
Mm-hmm.
case, am I spending money for the month for July, August, and September?
I gonna spend. I give him the money. Gonna for to pay those months.
Exactly. That
So
means the landlord owes you the rent. You
the
own the rent for the month of July, August, and September, right?
mm-hmm.
But right now, we're currently in the month of June. What you paid now is what matters for expenses. Anything that you pay for the future, we can hold off to it and consider it as a prepaid
Pay.
account.
Mm.
Okay? So in this case, that's how we understand the difference between a prepaid account and versus an
An
expense.
expense.
Okay? Expense is happening right now, right? It's incurred right now. Where am I able to pay for July rent right now?
I prepaid, but it's not gonna be effective until July.
Correct. That's exactly correct. Right? Because right now, is my rent expense occurring right now for July?
No.
No, it's only June that's currently being used right now. So therefore, we treat this as a prepaid account because we already made an advance payment for it. That means the landlord owes me service because I own the location to be rented out for the month of July, August, and September. I own it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's how you have to understand that. Okay. So there we go. Let's go. And of course, checking account, right? We're going to write a check for a first time, which is 10,100, right? We already know that exists. So let's go ahead and do this. So it is now June 5th,
Yes.
right? Here's a few things that we incurred. We incurred rent expense because this expense incurred right now for the month of June. Okay. We have a prepaid account because we bought a few months of rent in advance, prepaid accounts. Okay. And of course, we also made a deposit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then last but not least, we need to credit our account because we're decreasing the money in our checking account, right? Because we spent money and wrote a check out. Okay. So
Yep.
again, let's see. Rent expense was 62,000.
Yep.
16.
62 rent expense. What is it? 62,000. Yeah. 62,000.
No, that's yeah. Rent expense is
Yeah, the rent
62.
expense.
Good.
974.
Okay.
For 1,000, 1,500.
Okay, good. For $1,500. Good. How much was the
And we
prepaid
have
for?
45,000.
Good. Or
The
4,500
deposit was 4,500, yeah. And 1,500
for the deposit. Good.
for the deposit.
And how much did I write my check out for?
6,000. 6,000 for the rent, I think so. 7,500.
7,500 goes to landlord properties. So in this case, right, I wrote a check for the very first time. So I need to go to my check register. Okay, because I cut them a check. What is the date that I wrote this check out for? On the 5th of June. Okay. Now, for what total amount?
For $7,500.
$7,500, right? Who did I write this check out for?
For the rent and
Oh,
deposit.
okay, so I'm sorry. Who did I write this check out to?
For who? For the landlord.
Landlord Properties, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's see.
Okay, Landlord Properties. Now, in this case, right, this is all the information that I need for my bookkeeping, right? If you want to, you can add another column in case you want a for. Like, why did you write this check out for? In this case, I don't need it because I don't think I need it. But for you, if you need to have it, then go ahead and have it, because that's what a checkbook does, right? You have this section where you can fill out, like, when did you write it, how much did you write it, who did you write it out to, and why you wrote it out for. Then go ahead and create another column for the reason why you wrote this check out. But in this case, I don't need to do it. Okay, but for you, if you want to, you can go ahead and do so. Now, in this case, what was the check number I wrote out?
What is the number check? Oh, 1,501.
Correct. So in this case, this is what I want you to do every time you write a check to somebody, right? All right. For the description in my journal, I want you to say that, well, I have a person who's providing service to me, right? His name is Landlord Properties. Okay? And I can justify that I paid for 4 months of rent and rent deposit. And I can also go as far as saying, well, how do I know I have proof that the transaction has happened? I wrote a check number 1501. Okay? All right? And that is it for this transaction here in the journal. All right? So what do I need to do next?
Post the ledger.
Post it to the ledger. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So let's go to our ledger. First, what's the first account that we have to look at?
So we can do the check-in first or no, because we have the expenses first.
We have expenses first. So in this case, I'll make sure you go in order, because in this case, there's many occasions where you can forget. So for now, because we're going to do this together, let's just go ahead and follow the rules, which is do it in order that you see it. So in this case, rent expense is going to be my first one. Okay? So scroll down until you find rent expense. All right, I found my rent expense, account number 62,000. Okay, it is for the month of June 5th. Okay, now what you can write here is rent
expense
for month of June.
June 5th.
Right. General journal, page number 1. Now in this case, expenses are normally debited, right?
Debit.
So I debited my account for $1,500. Okay, so therefore my account balance is $1,500. Right? So what account is next?
Later we have the asset.
Yes, assets.
Prepaid account.
Prepaid accounts. So in this case, I do need to scroll all the way down until I find prepaid accounts.
Prepaid account. There you go.
Prepaid accounts. Awesome. Okay. Now in this case, what am I going to write here? on June 5th. Why?
You just pay an advance rent.
Good. Advance payment for 3 months of rent. Okay. You can write the check number that you used. You can write the landlord properties. Whatever one you want to put here, you can put as much information. In this case, I'm just saying, well, I just paid 3 months worth of rent. Okay. General journal number 1. Okay. How much did I pay?
4,500.
4,500, which again is my account
That's what it is.
balance. So that's what my balance is going to be 4,500. Okay.
Some account you're gonna use just one time, no?
Yes. Okay.
You keep it open. You don't close the account, no?
Okay, so remember, we have permanent accounts and temporary accounts. Which accounts close out?
The temporary.
Temporary,
Liability.
not liabilities. Liabilities is a permanent account.
It's different account. Expenses and
Yes, revenues and expenses, they are the ones that close out. So in this case, I'm going to always have a running balance in my assets, liabilities, and my equity, right? Because we have that understanding, right? If you close out your bank account, what are you telling us?
you close the business.
Exactly. If you close out your liability, right? What does that tell us? Right?
Don't have any obligation more.
Well, you don't have
Everything
obligations, but at the end of the day, right, you're saying that I don't owe any more money, but in reality, they're still going to go after you no matter what. Okay?
Yes. You cannot close a liability. You always, if you continues to work, you're always gonna have something.
Yes, you're always going to owe, exactly, until you pay it off completely, or you do one of the other two, which is file for bankruptcy, so your debt gets cleared, or you consolidate. Those are the only options. But yes, liabilities never close out for any reason unless you file for bankruptcy or have a debt collector. Okay? So whatever you owe, you will always owe forever.
Always. Yep.
Okay? So there you go. That was my prepaid rent. Now what else do I need to put here? My deposits, right?
Yes.
So if you scroll right underneath, you have deposits right here. Okay? So in this case, my description, what do you want to put here?
Deposit for rent.
Yes, rent deposit. Okay, and I'm going to put in parentheses 1 month's rent, right? Because usually that's what it is. It's always 1 month's worth of rent. So in this case, general journal. This transaction happened on our first page. How much did I debit my account for? $1,500. Good. Okay.
So deposit it can be for anything. You use the same account, right?
Correct. For rent, for insurance, if you need to do a deposit for something, but here's the difference. When you're doing a deposit, right? This is when you're guaranteed money back. Right? So some places say, "Oh, you're going to do a deposit for equipment." Well, in this case, sometimes, you can take that deposit and put it towards your actual bill. Therefore, you would have to get rid of your deposit at that point. But sometimes they use a deposit just to ensure that you are going to go through with the deal, right? But sometimes it's guaranteed that you'll get the money back. Sometimes it's not. So, for example, rent, good luck trying to get the money back from rent. Because their landlord's always going to come up with some kind of reason to not give you that money back. Okay?
They pay the last month or something like that.
Sometimes you can pay for that, but sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, you ruined my house. You need to use that money to pay for the house." Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So Last
Right.
account that we have here is my checking account. So
Mm-hmm.
it is the 5th.
So June 5th. So we have rent pay with check 1500.
Good, right? In this case,
1500.
I am just only going to write that I wrote check number 15100 because 1501. Now with this, right? You know why I only put 1501? Right? I
Because it is the check that you write. That's all. You know, it doesn't matter what you pay. You just take this amount, no?
right? And on top of that,
Right?
I can look up in my check register what
In the check
happened with the check 1501, right? Because that's going to give me the date, how much I paid, and who I paid.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this case, I only need that piece of information because it will tell me what happened with that check. Okay, so I'm only gonna put the check 1501. All right. Again, the transaction happened on the first of the journal. Now, in this case, did I increase my checking or did I decrease my checking?
No, a decrease.
You decrease your checking, right? Because you spent money for $7,500, right? So in this
Yes.
case, what is my account balance in my bank account?
23 minus 7,500. Let me see. Mm, how much we have? 23, 625 minus 7,500. So you have 16,125.
You have $16,125. Yes. Okay. That's how much you have in your bank account because you just spent $7,500. Okay. So there you
Just on
go.
2 days. Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
That's very
that's
fast. It's very fast.
and that's why rent costs the most in any kind of business, right?
Oh,
Rent is the most
yes.
expensive expense that you'll always have because it's always going to be reoccurring, and that's always the first thing that you need to pay, and then your employees.
And the place is more expensive. I think so. No, the
Yes,
place than the.
if you put a whole bunch of benefits and packages in there and promise them that you're going to pay for all of this, then yes, employees can get very costly, especially if you have more than one.
Mhm.
So there you go. Perfect. Now we finished the journal. We finished updating our ledger. Okay, my general ledger. Now here is another factor that we have to enter in now. We just dealt with a vendor, right? It says in your book right here or in your notes right here that you need to update your subsidiary ledger. Because we dealt with a vendor, right? For any
Mhm.
reasons that you have any discrepancies or any arguments with the landlord, right? You can always say, that's it. I don't want to deal with you anymore. I want my rent money back. I'm leaving, right? And you're under a contract. So you definitely want to make sure that you have this is in record. So then in case your landlord decides, oh, you didn't pay for the month rent for June, right? You can go back into your contract and say, yes, I did. I paid for 4 months in advance. Here's the proof. Here's the check that you wrote. 7,500. I paid for this month and the next 4 months. So that's what you can do here, and that's a
Okay.
good thing that you should have because you're keeping track of your vendor, right? But
Mhm.
then it's also a good way for the vendor to also keep track of you, right? If they're having you as a customer, they can come back and say, "Hey, it's the month of October. Your rent is due, right? Because you only signed a 4 month contract. You need to start paying."
The
So
vendor is all kind of. It's not just when you buy inventory or stuff like that. It's everything that you buy from them. That's vendors. Oh,
correct. So
okay.
vendors, right? It's not strictly for just buying um,
Inventory.
inventory. It's for anybody that provides a service for you. So rent is a service to you, right? Let me see
Mm-hmm.
what else. Let's say you need to have somebody, as a hire as a subcontractor to fix something in your kitchen. That's a vendor.
Mm-hmm. That's a number
And
two.
then anybody that's a 1099 worker, so anybody that you contract as an independent contractor to get a job done is going to be
Mm-hmm.
a vendor because they are a third party
Okay.
person,
Yeah.
right? So it's anybody that provides a service or for something that, you know, you purchase items from. Okay, so it's any of those people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I understand. Okay.
So in this case, right, I need to go to my subsidiary ledger. And because this is a vendor, right, you need to look up the vendor. Now in this case, this is landlord properties. Your vendors are going to be in order based on um,
What?
the company. So in this case, landlord
Is it?
is going to be under L. Yes?
Give me 1 second. The subsidiary, subsidiary, yeah, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Ledger. What's that? Is
It
another kind of ledger, or is the same kind of ledger with a different account? I don't know.
So in this case, this is separate from your general ledger. Okay, this is another one because in this case, you are keeping track of your customers and your vendors. Like you're keeping track of how much you owe them or how much customers
Mm-hmm.
owe you. So this table here is going to keep track of your accounts payable and accounts receivable.
Okay, so
Okay,
that's like on QuickBook, you have all the vendors that what you buy, their name,
correct.
their address, and everything. So
Correct.
they, okay,
And
I
then
get
when
it.
you go through a transaction with them, you record them, right? But in this case,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's the same thing as a vendor center. You keep track of their transactions, right? You record all the bills that you've
All the bills.
received, all the invoices that you submit out to your customers. This is where you keep track of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so good. So in this case, landlord properties. Let's see where they are. Landlord properties. Here they are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It is June 5th, right?
Oh, they have
And
each
they
each account
each,
have
the
a one.
correct, right? Just like each vendor, right? Every transaction you do with a particular vendor, they each have their own separate account,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So in this case, right, in the notes, what do you want to say here? What did you do with landlord properties?
Paycheck for rent. Well, it's
Mm-hmm.
the landlord, so we know that is the pay check. The number of the check, no, that you pay him.
Correct, correct. Good,
Mm-hmm.
good, good, good. So let's talk about why you paid him. So in this case, I paid for rent, right?
Right.
Okay, now I paid for
Mm-hmm.
the rent expense to be 1,500. I had, I paid for, actually, let's do this again. So I paid for rent 4 months, okay, with a total of
Of six
$6,000,
thousand dollars.
which in this parentheses, I'm going to say 1 month equals $1,500, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and rent deposit. Okay. And yes, and I also used check number 1501 as proof that you paid. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so invoice number, okay, for this one, let's go ahead and create one. So a contract number, right? Usually your invoice number is going to be your contract number.
Okay.
So in this case, my
So we
contract
don't
number,
have any.
what it could be whatever you want. Let's go ahead and make it up right now. What should be the contract number? Let's make it
1, 2, 3.
one,
I
two,
don't know.
three, six,
One,
five,
two, three
four.
are red.
Right?
Okay.
All right.
We
So
can
that
have
would
a letter. We
yes, you
can have a
can. Yes,
letter.
you can.
Right.
Okay. So in this case, because it's whatever the contract number is, and in this case, I'll go ahead and enter it in here. So then, landlord properties. Okay. Contract number is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 5, 6, 5, 4. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then see.
All right, so this is how I'm going to use this one for this example, right? But this doesn't make sense until you get into actually purchasing inventory, right? So in this case, right, my
Mhm.
post reference is also going to be where I have had this transaction in my journal. In this case, I had it in my general journal number 1.
Number one.
Okay. Now, in this case, can a landlord give you terms?
No.
In this case, they can. It's not necessarily a discount, but they could say that rent is due every 5th of the month, right? In this case, I can say net 30. So that means the next time I have rent, it's due in the next 30 months.
30.
But I already paid 4 months in advance. So in this case, I don't
Mhm.
even need to put anything there because I don't owe them for the next billing cycle. Okay, so in this
Mhm.
case, no terms. So therefore, no terms, no discount due date, or an actual due date, right? You could go as far as maybe it's the 5th of every month. Okay,
So the day that you have to pay the rent.
correct.
Mhm.
But in this case, we already made 4 months in advance payment, so they don't need to bill me for any reason except for utilities. But utilities doesn't go through landlords.
So if you give him, give you any discount or any, for example, you don't pay the first month or 2 months before the first 3 months, and then you start to pay X, you have to write everything there on the discount date.
Correct under this right here. But right now, this is what
Okay.
happened just today.
Mm-hmm.
Right today, I paid $7,500 to buy 4 months of rent, and had to pay a deposit. Okay. Now
Okay.
in this case, let's think of it in real life. Can a landlord give you a discount for rent?
Mm-hmm.
They
So
can.
that's a kind. Yeah, they can give you at the beginning. They give you most of the time, like that too.
In most
Yes.
cases, not really, just because, they're looking, rent usually is what's called a fixed expense, where you make an
Mm-hmm.
agreement of how much rent you're going to make a payment for every single month. In this case, it's 1,500. It doesn't change.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so no discounts here, but maybe you can make a note here that maybe it is due every 5th of the month. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Prepaid accounts or amount. Now, in this case, did I purchase any prepaid in advance for rent
You
before
have
I
to
knew who
pay
before I knew
them
who
all.
they are?
No, you don't have
No.
anything
So in this
before.
case, no, you're not going to use prepaid amounts here. Reason being is because they didn't ask you to put a deposit prior before you signed the contract, right? So in this case, they
Mm-hmm.
just how much was my total invoice amount?
7,500.
Exactly, right? They just said, okay, well, you signed
Mm-hmm.
in the contract today, so there's no amount that can go towards an invoice, right? Because I didn't pay them in
Mm-hmm.
advance. In this case, that's what this column is for when you make advance payments for to a vendor. In this case, no, I just went to the landlord today and I had to pay all this money. Right? I paid 7,500. In this case, was there any returns and allowances? No, but in case for
No.
future, this is what this section is for. Maybe you have a fight with your landlord saying that's not fair. I want my money back. Then they would do the returns for you. Again, no discount, right? Because they didn't give you terms.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And again, did you make a payment?
Yes.
Yes, you did. So in this case, yes, I did make a payment. So in this case, right, I'm going to show you how to do Excel even though you're not using Excel. So then this kind of makes sense if you're plugging
I
it
use
in.
Excel.
Okay, perfect. Then this will make sense when we actually take a look at plugging them in. So in this case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, hold on. Let me undo that. So in this case, right, I have an invoice amount for 7,500, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I have
So you
made a
pay the rest.
payment for 7,500.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I can see it like that. So I'm just gonna pull up my window so I can see them a little better. Okay. Now in this case, accounts payable. In this case, I already pay at time of service, right? I cut them a check. I wrote them
Yes.
out. So do I actually owe landlord anything?
No, but he owe you.
Yes, yes,
He's
but
having your
remember,
money.
this is our
Mm.
books.
Our
So in
books.
our
Okay, so I
context,
can see
right,
how. Yeah.
we already made a payment. On their end, they need to
Mm-hmm.
hold up on their books that they owe us rent. Okay? But in this case, this is our books,
Okay.
right? Do I owe landlord
Mm-hmm.
properties anything if they charge me 7,500 and I cut them a check for 7,500?
No,
No, you don't owe
no.
them anything. So how do we use this in Excel? So in this case, right, the Excel, the formula is going to be, well, first, let's start with the amount that the invoice was invoiced for, which was 7,500. Okay? If you made
Mm-hmm.
an advanced payment to them prior before the bill that you received, right, that will decrease your
Minus
invoice, right?
invoice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
If you had
minus
a
the invoice
return,
amounts.
correct. If you had a return or an allowance, that would also decrease the amount that you owe,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The amount of. Yep.
And of course, a
It's the
discount
discount.
will also decrease the amount that you owe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately, a payment will 100% decrease the amount that you owe. Okay? So in this case, if I did this correctly, I should show that I owe landlord properties $0. Why?
Mm-hmm.
I made a payment for 7,500, right? They contracted me, right? I signed a contract and I cut them a check for 7,500. Therefore, I owe landlord properties nothing. And that's why this
Nothing.
column right here is for accounts payable. I don't owe
Mm-hmm.
anybody anything right now.
Anything.
Okay?
Okay.
All
Mm-hmm.
right.
So that's like a memo or something like that. Just to reflect all of your
Yes.
information.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
correct. Okay, saying, "Hey, I don't owe you anything because I already made a payment." And in my notes slash description, right,
Mm-hmm.
I've already confirmed that I made a payment by writing them a check number
Yes.
1501.
Now, I have in QuickBook, which I know which one do you update first? Because you have to update something, and everything is have to be updated, right?
So in this case, right,
Vendors.
because yes, you're going to update the vendors. Now, in this case, if you're applying QuickBooks to this very scenario right here, you're just going to
Mm-hmm.
simply write a check.
Right, you write the checks, and then it's gonna update everything, the vendors and
Correct.
everything
Because
that you have. Mm-hmm.
right now,
Mm-hmm.
right, you may have cut them a check. And what you're going to do is you're going to list out that you're paying the current month's rent and you're also having a prepaid account and you're having a deposit, right, under the list of items that you're paying for, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the items exactly how we journalized it, right? You're going to have one for the actual rent expense for the
Right.
month. You're going to have
Mm-hmm.
one for the prepaid amounts of 3 months of worth of rent, and you're going to have one for the deposit. Now, in this case, right, because you didn't actually receive a bill, you don't owe anything, right? This you paid at time of
Mm-hmm.
service. So in this case, right, yes, you need to plug in your reference in the section where it says the billing information or the reference number. You're going to fill
Mm-hmm.
the contract number right there, or you put this in the memo. Okay? And then you plug in the landlord properties, which is your vendor, right? And you're going to say, I wrote a check out for them for 7,500.
Or 7,000.
And it will
Okay.
appear on their vendor, on the list of transactions for this vendor. But in
Mm-hmm.
this case, we're not going to be billed because we don't owe them anything, right? They did not say we owe them this amount of money. We paid at time of
Mm-hmm.
service. So we don't
Yep.
owe them at all.
Anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right.
Well, I get it.
Okay, good. So there we go. We updated our subsidiary ledger. So
Mm-hmm.
now let's go ahead and continue on to see what happened next. Right. All right. So we just paid
Yes.
for landlord properties. So let's see what happened next. Here, let's see.
you have employees?
We hired Kim Robinson, an interior design consultant. In this case, is our business interior designing?
No.
No. So this person is not an employee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We hired a subcontractor to design our store. Okay. In this case, a design consultant. So someone who is giving us advice on how we should design our store.
Have to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in this case, right, is this a transaction that I can record?
Right now, no.
Why? Why right now? No.
He didn't do anything, any service, any nothing. You don't. I don't know what he's gonna do. Okay. Yeah, he sell you something. Actually, yes.
Yeah, but in this case, we just only hired them.
Okay, you hire Robert this and no, the computer, it doesn't have anything to be with him.
Right, because we only just hired them. They didn't bill me yet, right? They didn't do the job yet. All we did was just
Well,
hire them.
so you cannot write anything. You don't have anything. What you gonna journalize?
Correct,
Okay.
right? There's no amount that there's no amount for you to journalize. Correct, right? Because they didn't send you a bill yet. They didn't quote you. They didn't do anything. They didn't even do the job yet. So in this case, right? The situation here is that you can't really journalize it because there's no transaction to happen. Did you make a payment?
No.
No, right? Because we don't know how much they charged me, right? And in this case, right? So in this case, we just have to know that, okay, well, we hired Kim Robinson. So then when we do receive a bill, it's not like we've never seen this before, right? This tells me here that I hired someone to design the store for me. Okay? Just to design, not to do the work, but just to consult to me how I should design my store. Okay. All right?
Actually, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't do anything for you yet. So
Exactly. They didn't do anything for me yet, right? We don't know what happened. All we did was just hire them. Okay.
let's go see.
All right, that's it. So then let's see what happened here on the 5th, right? We went to the store. Computers are us because we needed to buy some kind of system to be able to print out invoices and stuff for our customers, right? To do our accounting behind the scenes, right? We need a computer to be able to keep our track records with that. So in this case, we went to Computers R Us. We went to the actual store, okay? And here is the receipt that we purchased. So in this case, we purchased a computer system, which is a computer and a printer. And here, my subtotal is $2,045. I got taxed 8.25% for $168.71. And therefore, the total amount due was $2,213.71. So therefore, and I made a payment using a check.
Okay. I have a lot of stuff to do here. So we can journalize now all of this.
Correct, because we paid at time of service, right? We paid at the store, okay? So in this case, right, what did I buy?
A computer.
You bought a computer. What else did you buy?
You buy a printer.
You bought a printer. So let's go ahead and take a look at my chart of accounts. Do I have an account for a computer and a printer?
Yes. You have for computer and supposed to have for the printer too, no?
Yes, we do. So we do have an account
Yes,
for
we
that.
do.
Okay?
For both. We have a computer. I lost it. It was here.
Oh, sorry. I got it for you.
Yeah.
So here, the
14.
computer.
The 14010 and the printer it is 14020.
Perfect. Okay. So in this case, I did buy a computer, which is a fixed asset.
Fixed asset. Yep.
And I bought a printer. Okay. Now, in this case, right, I also used a check to pay for this?
Yeah, you pay taxes, so we have to have the taxes on the phone.
Okay, I was actually going to talk about that. So, what do we do with with the
You know,
taxes?
we have to collect them. It's no, it's for to pay them later.
Why are we collecting sales
Actually,
tax? We didn't sell a product. We
we
purchased a
actually we
product.
didn't sell. I know, but it's okay. So we pay the taxes on this.
Right.
Sorry, I forget.
Okay.
I miss- So we have to write that we pay the taxes too. So later we have to deduct the taxes, no? Have to pay.
Why do we deduct taxes? Why do
It's your
we
money. You want your money back
oh,
for
well,
back or back,
in this
back or
case,
nothing.
in this case, can I go to the IRS and say, "Well, I bought a computer. Can I deduct my taxes from that?"
No,
No, you
doesn't
you
work like
can't do that. No.
that. No,
No, you can't do
no,
that because
it's
to
not just the computer and the printer.
mhm.
Okay.
So what do I do with that tax?
Eh, you pay them and that's all. And
You
that's it.
okay, well okay, so if you remember when we depreciate assets, right? What's the very
Oh
first
yeah,
rule when we figure out the cost of the asset?
that's for the precision for the taxes for the to see the uh, how much uh, uh, how much you have to pay on oh, I don't know
So okay, so
have
let's
the value of your product
right. So then
the value.
how do I determine what my cost of the asset is? What is included in the total cost of my asset?
Everything the
Everything.
all
Everything.
everything
So in this case, right, my computer right now, it's without taxes is 16.95.
69. Yep. So you put everything. Oh, okay.
So exactly. So what is the my actual cost of my computer?
2000 with the printer. So it is well 2045 for the no 1695
Plus
part
what?
of the part of the
Plus
taxes.
part of the taxes. So good. So in this case, if I have to be charging tax for my computer, right? Or I'm being charged for tax on the computer, right? How
Mhm.
much tax am I actually going to be paying
So
for?
so we have to calculate how much is 8.25% of
Correct. So let's go ahead and calculate that, right? So if my asset is 16,095 and I have to pay taxes on it,
825. So we have a 139.84 or 83.75, whatever you want to put.
so let's go ahead and add that to my asset cost. So what is my actual true value of my computer?
1,695. So it's gonna be 1,834.84.
Correct. So in this case, um it's going to be
34.
1834.84, okay?
84.
Now,
Mhm.
in this case, you don't need to calculate tax again because you only have two items, right? You could simply subtract that amount from your
The
taxes
amount.
and be able to
Mhm.
figure out how much your printer costs. So, in this case, right, what is my total cost of my printer?
It is 350. 350. And we have how much was the taxes? I forget. Let me
Taxes is
check.
8.25%.
Yeah. No, I just wanna just say that we subtract. I don't remember how much it is. Amount doesn't matter. So let me see. 350
350, good.
times 0.0825. So
hmm
28,888.
Okay, so let's add that to my printer.
350. 3,000. We got 3,000. 378. 88.
80.
87. 88. 87. Okay.
In this
87.
case, if it is it 88? How
Actually, it's 87. 87. 5 after.
Okay,
So
so in
it's
this case, right? How much tax did I actually charge?
0.88.25.
Okay, which is $168.71. Now let's add that. Let's add that. If you have 88 plus 84, how much cents do you have?
81. Again, I just get lost. I don't know what you ask me right now.
Okay, so you just calculated tax for the printer to be
Yes.
378.88.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at that. Let's add that to your printer, right, for the 1834.84. What's your total amount that you are paying?
To the print 378.88. No, that's what you asked me. Or you wanted the total from both.
The total for both.
Okay, so 8134 point. It's gonna be $1 more, I think. So no, let me see. 2003 213. Yeah, no, it is okay.
2013 what?
0.715.
Okay. But that would, right? And if you actually round that on to an actual receipt, right? That would be 72 cents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I pay 221372?
No, you pay 71.
71. So that is exactly why I took my total amount instead of recalculating that again. I just subtracted out because I already figured out tax for one of them. So therefore, I can just find out what the tax is for the second one easily by taking the total
Just
amount
subtract the.
and subtract the two
Mhm.
numbers. Yes. That way, I don't have to run into rounding errors. So in this case,
Mhm.
what I did was I took 2,213.71 and subtracted my 1834.84 to get me a grand total of 378.87.
378.87.
Okay.
Yep.
So then, how did I pay?
With the check, no?
Yes, you wrote another check. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For how much?
Yep. For 2,201, 13.71.
Correct. 221371. All right. So because we wrote another check, we need to go to our check register. Okay.
Number again. Mm-hmm. So we have to check register. Yep.
Okay. So it's now 6-5, right? How much
No.
did I write a check out for?
So, 221371.
Good. Who did I write this check out for? To. Who did I write the check out to?
To the computer as.
Computers are us. Good. Right? That's the company we wrote the check out to. So in this case, what check number did I use?
1502.
Okay, and usually if you write a check, it should appear on your receipt as well. They do put the coding of the exact check number that you use to
Mm-hmm.
pay. So in this case, right, I can come back here and now I can write in my description, okay, what this
Mm-hmm.
transaction was, right? I dealt with a vendor, right? I bought something from somebody, right? I bought from
By,
Computers R Us.
by computer system.
Mm-hmm.
Pay with check.
Computers. Good. Computers are us, and we use check number 1502 to pay for it. Good.
Now we have to do on the deposit. We have to take it out the amount.
Now, in this case, is this a deposit?
It's not a deposit, is but your account is a decrease from this amount. You
Right,
don't have to.
but the question is, am I making a deposit?
Nope.
No, I'm writing a check out, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? I cut a check. So that case,
Mm-hmm.
no, I do not need to put any money in my deposit because I'm not
Yes.
depositing money. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
increasing my checking account. I'm decreasing it.
I know you decrease your account. So, but the deposit is your bank account, right?
No, it's not. Your deposit is when you receive money and you need to put money into your bank account.
All right.
Right? So this
So
is you're writing a check out. So is that in any ways of you increasing your money flow?
no, you don't increase. You decrease the amount. That's what I was
Exactly.
thinking. To to take out the, but it's not a deposit. It is a transaction. You buy something.
Right.
That's a. Mhm.
So in
I
this
just
case,
wouldn't.
it's
You
not a
don't decrease the
deposit.
money.
No, you don't
It's
need to
not a
deposit
deposit.
anything because it's going to come out of your checking account when you update your ledger.
Hmm.
Okay? You don't need to deposit. Like, think about it in real life. Would you go to the bank to deposit a check to write out a check?
You go to the bank to deposit a check. Yes, normally you deposit the money on the bank.
Okay, but
It's
I'm
not like
writing.
this.
I'm at the store right now. How can I go to the bank to deposit money
No,
to write a check out
no, no,
for
because
this
no,
vendor?
no, no.
Okay.
Just giving you some
No, no,
example.
no, no, no. I'm just making sure you understand. Like, okay, in this
Yeah.
case, no, you're not going to go to the bank to deposit money to write a check to somebody. No, because in this case, you already have money in the bank.
So your deposit is just for to put the money that is
Right. So
a
when
true
we
deposit. It's just the
exactly
transaction.
exactly like QuickBooks, right? If
Mhm.
you're writing a check out, do you need to go to make a deposit?
No.
No. When do you make a deposit?
When do when do I make the deposit?
Uh-huh.
When
When
I
do
go
you
to
make
the bank.
deposit?
When you receive the money, you go to the bank to put it.
Exactly. When you receive money. In this case, are you receiving money in any form?
No, you
You're
pay the money.
spending money, right? So in
You're
this case,
spending
no, you never ever deposit anything in there.
anything.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now that's the difference between your check register and your deposits, right? One is
Deposit
increasing your checking account. One is decreasing your check account.
decreasing the check.
So every time you write a check, you're decreasing your check. But every time you receive money and you deposit it, you're increasing your checking account.
Mm.
Okay. So that's why you need two separate forms for that. All right. So now that we finally have my journal done, right? Now we got to go. Where do we got to go?
Ledger.
Ledger. So let's go ahead and update our ledger. So here, I bought a computer. What is a computer? It's an asset, right? So let's go ahead and
Yes.
find our computer here.
The computer. A lot of that. Mhm.
Yes, I know. I'm looking for it too right now. So construct.
Coffee had to be closer.
There you go. Here you go. Here is my computer. Oh, that's my printer. One more. Computer. All right. So in
Mhm.
this case, I'm going to write in my date here, right? June 5th. Now, you have an option here. We purchased the computer, right? Pretty
Mhm.
straightforward because I'm going to be debiting my computer. I don't necessarily have to write in here that I bought a computer. But what I can do is, well, how much did the computer cost me? Well, it cost me 1,695, right? Where's
Mhm.
my dollar
Actually,
sign?
18.
1695, right? But
Mhm. Taxes.
we had to pay taxes, so plus 8.25% tax. Okay? To give me my grand total of the 1834.84. In this
34.
case,
Mhm.
right, I'm going to make sure I put in my journal. This happened in journal 1. Now, because I bought an asset, right, I increased my assets. So
Mhm.
in this case, it was for
80.
1834.84.
84. Yeah.
Okay? And of course,
Mhm.
we're going to put that in. This is my historical cost because I'm including all of the cost it takes to get the asset ready for service, right? In this case, a
Yep.
computer is already ready for service. All you have to do is just plug it into a wall, right?
Mhm.
That's all you have to
Yeah.
do. No extra things that needs to be entered in there. But because I bought it from the store, I am subject to have to pay sales tax. Okay. Same thing if I were to buy it online, right? They're gonna charge me tax and they're gonna charge me shipping on top of that.
Shipping. Yep. Mhm.
But in this
Yep.
case, I went to the store and bought it myself.
Mhm.
Okay. So there you go for 1834.84. Okay. I also have
So
to update my printer. Go ahead.
you don't write computer because you want to know where it's come from the amount, no?
What do you mean by that?
On computer, you just write the amount plus taxes on the item. You didn't.
Okay, so here, in
Yeah.
context, do I need to write in that I purchased a computer?
No, it is a computer.
Exactly, right? You're already in the computer account. You don't need to say I purchased a computer because
Mm-hmm.
you're automatically updating the account for that. I only did that for furniture because in this case, right, I don't know what my furniture items are. So I'm just gonna say I purchased it because at the end of the day, I end up selling my furniture.
Hmm.
Okay, at least I acknowledge that I purchased it on this day. But in this case, right, it's straightforward. This already gives me my information saying that I purchased it for $16.95 plus the tax.
Well, the tax, but it
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit you because you don't buy one computer just. In this case, yes. But most of the time, you buy many different kind of computers. So
Well,
you put
okay.
the reference or the reference, the model or something there on the item, or you put the price. So this guy is just this case.
Yes, yes, you would put the computer, right? Is it a Dell? Is it a Windows? Is it an HP? Yes, you
Mhm,
would put all that information in there because once again, you are going to be looking at that when you do depreciate it, right? So in this case,
mhm.
yes, if you did buy a specific computer,
Computer.
right,
Yes.
saying that it's an HP, this X model, yada yada yada, then yes, you would definitely put all that information in. But in
Mhm.
this case,
Okay.
I'm just
No, you
buying
don't
a
have
simple
anything.
computer. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So there you go. Shh. All right. So then
Mhm.
we're going to go next to the next one, which is the printer, right?
The printer. Mhm.
We bought a printer, right? In this case, we bought it for $350 plus
Plus
the
28 some
8.25% tax, right?
tax. Yep.
Okay. When did I buy it?
First,
On my journal,
the first,
the first
the
journal.
first
Good.
page.
For
Yeah.
$378.87.
Mhm.
Okay. All
When
right.
do you know that you have another page on the journal? When you over the page of the
Yeah,
journal.
so okay, so when we reach the bottom of my window, right? It there you go. It tells me I'm on page number 2.
Page two. I get
Mhm. Mhm.
it.
Mhm. So and for your case, it literally is page number 2.
But number two.
For the Word document, it's exactly page 2. Like it's on the other sheet.
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah, at the top of the window, at the top of the journal, it tells you what journal you are on. Okay. So there you
Mhm.
go. I paid for my printer for $387.87. Okay. Or
Mhm.
78.87. Okay. So make sure it matches 100% from your journal to, because this
Yes.
is also where a lot of students make their mistakes, is that when they copy something over, something like this, right,
Mm.
378.87, you can easily fat finger that and actually type in 38778, right? That's
Yes.
the, make sure that you do confirm that in your books and in your, you know, journal, that you are copying it over exactly, okay?
Exactly. Mhm.
And then
Yes.
last but not least, we wrote a check. So we got
Check.
to go up to our
So
checking
to
account.
count.
Okay. And in this
Okay.
case, it is June 5th, right?
And you pay.
You paid with check number 1502.
That too.
Okay.
Mhm.
Same thing, general journal number 1. And this time we spent money. How much did we spend?
2,213 and 71 cents.
Good. So if I spent more money, right, how much should be my total account balance?
Oh, let me see one second. 16 something.
16,125.
16,125 minus 2,213.71. So it is 13,911.29.
Good.
Yep.
So that's how much money I should have in my bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good. So we updated our ledger and we updated our a journal
Checking
and then
account.
ledger. So now
Checking ledger.
we have one more person because now we dealt with a vendor, right? We dealt with Computers R Us. So in this case, I'm going to go to my vendors and locate Computers R Us because in this case, what if the computer doesn't work? Maybe it's damaged, it's defective, right? What if you turn on the computer and it doesn't work? Then you have to go back to the store with the receipt and get a return or swap it out for a new computer, right? So that's why it's important for you to make sure that you do have a list of the vendors with their according receipts, because then that gives you a reason. Well, what if I trade my computer out? What if I took it back and never went back to Computers R Us? Okay, so here are Computers R Us, right? It is June 5th. Here we bought a computer and printer. Okay, you can write the exact amounts, right? For, let's see, computer, okay, for, what was it?
Have a sale receipt there.
1834, 84?
No, 2045 is what you buy the full.
Oh, that's the whole entire amount. But again, what if I only wanted to return my printer?
Oh, okay. Because at the beginning you write a computer and printer. So okay, so it's yes, it's 1834.84.
Okay, and then my printer cost me a total of 378.
378.87. So you okay?
Okay, just in case for any reason that you have to return the computer, either return the printer or the computer, right? And of course, how did you pay for it? Oops.
With the check 1,502.
Good, for check number 1502. Okay. Now, what is the invoice number in this case? What's my sales receipt number?
84,143.
Okay, so 84143. 84143. Okay, that's a receipt number. So, and for any reason that you need to return it, you have proof of the actual receipt. Okay. Now, of course, because you went in store and bought it, were you given terms? No, because you paid at time of you paid at the store, right? What was the total amount for?
2,213.71.
Good. And how did you make a payment to it?
Check.
Yes, you used a check for 2,013.71. So you paid the whole thing in full. So therefore, do you owe Computers R Us any money?
No.
No. So in this case, the formula once again is your invoice amount, right? The total amount that you paid for. If you made a payment, a down payment prior to buying this, it would decrease it, right? You would also decrease it if you return something, right?
Yes.
You would also decrease it if you were discounted, right? But in this case, you weren't given any terms, so no discount there. And of course, a payment would decrease the amount that you owe. So in this case, you owe Computers R Us $0. Okay, so there we have it. We updated our journal, our ledger, and our subsidiary ledger. Okay, so good job. Everything okay? Now this is what we're going to be doing. So every single scenario or every single transaction we go through, I'm going to go through it just like this. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions because each journal transaction is going to differ from every single one, right? Okay, so in this case, I just purchased fixed assets. So, so far, any other questions here?
Nope.
Nope. All right. So we're going to stop here. So that means when we continue on, we're going to be working on the 5th, again, Wednesday, the 5th. Or actually, this is the next day, isn't that right? This is Wednesday, June 6th. No.
Wednesday we still have it. No, we still have it.
Yeah, we still have it, so that's okay. All right. So let's go ahead and stop here, and we're going to continue this on tomorrow.